giant in town. Have you? Well, maybe in a little bit you can join in with me then. So, here we go. George was a giant. He was the scruffiest giant in town. He always wore the same pair of brown sandals, a bit like me, and the same old patched up gown. I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town, he said sadly. But one day, George noticed a new shop. It was full of smart clothes, so he bought a smart shirt, he bought a smart pair of trousers, he bought himself a smart belt, a smart stripy tie, he bought some smart socks with diamonds up the side, and a pair of smart, shiny shoes. Now, I'm the smartest giant in town, he said. George had left his old clothes behind in the shop. He was about to go home when he heard a sound. On the pavement stood a giraffe, and the giraffe was sniffing sadly. "Ah, what's the matter?" asked George. "It's my neck," said the giraffe. "It's so very long and cold. I wish I had a long, warm scarf." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his stripy tie. "It didn't match my socks anyway," he said, as he wound it round and round the giraffe's neck. "It made a wonderful scarf." "Thank you," said the giraffe. And George started to stride home, and he sang to himself, "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, but look at me up and down. I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a river. On a boat stood a goat who was bleating loudly. What does a goat do? "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my sail," said the goat. "It blew away in a storm. I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his new white shirt. "Don't worry, I won't do that. It kept coming untucked anyway," he said, as he tied it to the mast of the goat's boat. It made a significant sail. "Thank you," said the goat. George strode on, singing to himself, "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a tiny ruined house. Beside the house stood a white mouse with lots of baby mice. They were all squeaking. Give me a squeak. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's our house," squeaked Mother Mouse. "It burned down, and now we have nowhere to live. I wish we had a nice new house." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his shiny shoes. "It was giving me blisters anyway," he said, as the mouse and her baby scrambled inside. The shoe made a perfect home for them. "Thank you," they squeaked, and George had to hop all down the road, but he didn't mind. And as he hopped, he sang to himself, "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a white little mouse, but look me up and down, smartest giant in town." George came to a campsite, oh my word, and beside a tent stood a fox, and the fox was crying. "What's the matter?" said George. "It's my sleeping bag," said the fox. "I dropped it in a puddle. I wish I had a warm, dry sleeping bag." Cheer up, said George. and he took off one of his socks with diamonds up the side. You can have a sock. It was tickling my toes anyway, he said, as the fox snuggled into it. It made a very fine sleeping bag. Thank you, said the fox. George carried on hopping, and he sang to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a white little mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. George came to a squelchy bog. Can you make some squelchy noises? Beside the bog stood a dog who was howling. What's the matter? Asked George. It's this bog, said the dog. I need to get across, but I keep getting stuck in the mud. I wish there was a safe, dry path. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his smart new belt.
His trousers falls down.
It was squashing my I hope not. It was squashing my tummy anyway, he said as he laid it over the bog. It made an excellent path. Thank you, said the dog. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind. He hopped on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a white little mouse. One of my socks is a bed for a fox. My belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog. But... Ah! My trousers are falling down. I'm the coldest giant in town. Oh no! Suddenly, George felt sad and shivery and not at all smart. He stood on one foot and he thought, I'll have to go back to the shop. I need to buy some more clothes, he decided. He turned around and hopped all the way back to the shop.
It don't get so scruffy.
But when he got there, it was closed. Oh no. Oh no! Cried George. He sank down on the doorstep and a tear ran down his nose. He felt as sad as all the animals he had met on his way home. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a bag. I wasn't calling you a bag. With something familiar poking out of the top. Hello! George took a closer look. My gown! He yelled. My dear old gown and sandals. George put them on. They felt wonderfully comfortable. I'm the cosiest giant in town, he cried, and he danced back home along the road. Outside his front door stood all the animals he had helped, and they were carrying an enormous present. Sounds exciting. Come on, George, they said. Open it. George untied the ribbon. Inside was beautiful gold paper, a crown and a card. Look inside the card, said George. Sorry, look inside the card, George, said the animals. George put the crown on his head and he opened the card. And inside it said, your tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. Your shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. Your shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. Your belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog. So here is a very fine crown to go with the sandals and gown, because you are the kindest giant in town. Thank you. Thank you.